Can plastic packaging save Hasbro? Hello and welcome to Modern Toy Fair. I'm your host, Mr. Modern Toy Fair, and I'm joined by the founder of the Necilluminati, the delayer of shipments, the procrastinator of pre-orders, my YouTube wife, Mrs. Modern Toy Fair, Jarmar _games. But that's not all. I'm also joined by the man Modern Toy Fair has full custody over. The man Optimus Prime Pop that he refuses to stop. The Twilight Knight, the Master of Mac, the three-pump chump of taking the show off the rails, Nate. How you guys doing?
I'm all right.
Good. How about yourself?
Right.
I'm a little tired.
Oh, okay. Figured.
I am too.
Yeah, I'm a little tired, so that's why I stumbled very, very, very badly through that.
Procrastinator of
the procrastinator.
Is that a coffee related thing?
Yeah, it's like one of those fancy Starbucks.
Pre-caffeinated.
Yeah. They
pre-caffeinate
before they caffeinate.
We have a Nespresso.
Oh.
So yeah, because that makes coffee and then like puts like a half inch of like fancy foam across the top that I just kind of sit and wait for it to go away.
And then it's perfect timing to drink that.
Because I don't like it, but like we go through so many coffee makers because we drink. I don't think we drink a lot of coffee. Like I drink like a cup a day, but it's
365 days.
Right,
that's a lot of miles on that coffee,
right. Especially if there's two of you. That's 600, 700 like 20 cups a day.
But this one's been pretty good. This one's worked pretty well. So I don't love the fancy foam every day.
Why don't you just take like a spoon and scoop it out?
I've done that.
Scraper of foam.
The scraper of foam. Listen, I struggled with just the names we have now. I'm not adding any for a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're here to talk about toys. This week, recently, Hasbro announced subtly that they are going back to plastic packaging amongst their 6-inch toy lines, including Classified, Marvel Legends, Star Wars, and I believe they even said Transformers. I can't remember exactly.
What? I don't know if they did or not, and because I do think that Transformers has been the most successful
without
plastic. So I wonder.
Maybe it's a situation where like certain ones will still have plastic, like they have the retro looking boxes for the headmasters. But yeah, so they made this announcement pretty much signaling that collectors have won the battle on this one.
What? I thought we were here to celebrate that they solved global warming and that we no longer need to worry about recycling plastic and they figured it out.
They
did.
That
not what it was?
They actually that was the second part of the email. I wasn't going to get to that yet, but at the bottom it said, "We fixed everything, guys. You can go back to just burning styrofoam and throwing your plastic in landfills. We're good for another 100 years."
Okay.
Are you not supposed to burn styrofoam?
I don't think so.
It makes a cool noise.
I don't think you're supposed to.
It smells good.
You're supposed to not break it, and I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to burn it.
Oh.
And I'm probably not supposed to breathe it in either, but...
Yeah, no, that's definitely a bad thing, yeah. Huh. Anyway, so plastic packaging is coming back amongst the 6-inch toy lines for Hasbro. Everyone's celebrating, but the question is it too little too late? Because we've done this it was basically almost a year since they started it, that they kind of gave up on it.
Wow.
So obviously it hit a big impact. We're already seeing announcements. They did a Star Wars set of announcements, and a couple of the figures were in the plastic packaging, like the Battle Damaged General Grievous and the new Mandalorian figure. Both are in plastic, but then there's other ones that aren't, which makes me think that those figures had been tucked away for a rainy day for a while. And
I think those are the ones that are still scheduled to hit relatively sooner than later, whereas I think Mando and Grievous are a little further out, so they've had time to make that change. I don't not that it makes a huge difference, but I don't think they had them sitting around. I think it
just seemed because it was very odd choices.
Well,
so
they pressed
the Grievous
because Mando needed an update for a while.
Right, but they do that. They reveal like some from one wave, and then one from another wave, and then one from another wave, just to make it all that much more confusing as far as the pre-ordering process goes.
That makes sense.
For that more pleasant pre-order experience that they talk about, it's a real shit show, and I think that's mostly the reason. But
that's fair.
I was confused, but now I get. Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna slowly. They said it's gonna start having some at the end of this year, and then rolling into next year will be like a full rollout across all the lines. But they obviously they lost all of their inbox collector base for the most part, I have to assume, because there's no point in buying a box with a picture on it. And there's also people who were butthurt that they couldn't see because of quality control, which there certainly is a lot of that. I've experienced it firsthand. There's people straight up just stealing shit because it's even easier now than it used to be. But what's your guys' opinion on it? Did this affect you in any way, shape, or form regarding Hasbro and their products?
I feel like I'm just a broken record each time because I still just buy the Marvel Legends I want, and then I don't know. Like I open everything anyway, so I was like, yeah, whatever. I was hoping that if it was plastic free, that maybe we'd save a little bit of money. That didn't happen, so we're going back to plastic packaging.
Opposite direction.
Yeah, I'm assuming that it's gonna cost the same, if not maybe more. So
I can see that.
Really curious to see how these episodes go in the future of what we're talking about. But yeah, I couldn't really go either way with the plastic free packaging, so I must be that rare.
So at no point in time were you ever like concerned when you were buying a Marvel Legend figure that it wasn't going to be that figure inside, or that it was going to be fucked up or anything like that? You just willy-nilly would buy them and be like, no, la 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 la, and carry on with your day?
I mean, I had good luck, so I didn't really have a reason to. The only thing that I ran into one time at Target was I forgot what figure I was going to get. There was a figure, we'll just say. I can't remember right now who it was. But anyways, it was missing a piece. Like the box was like destroyed. And I was still going to buy it because it was clearance out like $8 or $9. And I opened it up and it was missing a piece in it. God, I don't know why I can't remember it at all. I mean, but yeah, that was the only time. Yeah, that's true. But I felt like maybe it was an important piece to the character or something. I don't know. But yeah, that was the only time where I was like, I'm just going to put this back because someone stole something out of it. That sucks. But that was the only time where I was like, damn, I wish this was, I could see everything. But I was like, all right, cool. I found it somewhere else, I'm sure. I think. I don't know.
You can't remember what it was. I'm really curious because I want to know what that piece that was missing was. If it was like that, it had been something important if it was that detrimental. You're like, no, I'm good. Even for $8, you weren't going to pull the trigger.
Oh, what's his name? The spear, dude. Wakanda Forever. Namor. That's what it was. It was Namor. He didn't have his spear. That's what it was. Or his scepter or whatever.
That's fair.
That was what it was. Yeah.
Is it a spear or is it a trident?
Trident? I don't think it's
I don't know what he has.
No, because it doesn't have a 3 thing. A trident
so it's just
a
spear.
It's just like yeah. But yeah, that's what it was. It didn't have it in the box. And I was like, well, I don't want to buy this and not have that. So that was why I skipped it. So that was really my only really bad experience with it. Granted, I really haven't purchased a ton of Marvel Legends outside like the ones from Wakanda Forever and like She-Hulk. Yeah. So
and Kang the Conqueror.
Oh yeah, Kang. That was a discounted one. Yeah. We don't bring that up, I guess. I don't know. But yeah,
I don't know yet.
It's just been I hadn't really had much interest in a lot of the MCU stuff, so it's been like, okay, cool.
That's fair.
Perfect.
How about you, Nate?
It's hard to say specifically if it had an effect or if it was just a serendipitous, everything coming together at once because, it was around this time because of the price increases that things started to really, I had to start taking into account, what was going on, what was going out. And, I stopped Black Series around the same time. I stopped Marvel Legends a little bit earlier than that, but I kind of like really scaled down on, MCU stuff because that was, my main bread and butter. I had already gotten out of Lightning Collection and, there was a lot of other things that I wasn't, too keen on that they were then going to have in plastic free packaging. So all of those things kind of did put me off a little bit. I stayed with, my vintage collection, which, stayed with the bubble. That was, definitely a concern as I was, getting out of Black Series, getting into this, were they going to take the bubble away from that, which they didn't. And I think that was
I mean, they did
and
with those
helpful.
deluxe ones, though.
The deluxe ones, though, but and that could be totally what they had in mind, but there is also a precedent set for that already. There has been previous vintage collection stuff released in a box in vintage collection 1.0. So there, it's
just because there's Bukkake
debatable.
Mando with the spider, which is like got the big bubble. So I was just like,
and people didn't like that because the card shape was different. It doesn't. It's
oh yeah, it is larger. That's right. Yeah,
and it doesn't. People
the
like
deluxe
that.
ones, they were able to make it so it's the same shape.
Yep.
That's fair.
So I the one major issue that I had with it, I did have issue not so much with swapping. That was my original fear, but I didn't really have an issue with anything that I bought in the store. But I also cut back what I bought in the store because I stayed with G.I. Joe Classified. I want to say that almost every Classified I bought, with the exception of store exclusives, which I still think were all in plastic packaging, every Classified figure I bought online. And so, and I did have a few issues here and there, but nothing where I was like, oh, wah, this thing is smudged here and it's, I whatever, I'm going to put it on the shelf and never think about it again. So I'm not that worried about it. But where it really got me was in the secondary market, at shows or in resale shops and things like that. Especially at, like, we have an area resale shop, media resale shop called The Exchange, which is, localized in the, area across several states.
Okay.
And I don't know how as far as they go to check those things. I mean, are they thorough? I mean, because we know that when there's plastic packaging, there are people at Walmart, would take back a 20-year-old Toy Biz figure of a completely different character. It'd be a Marvel figure in a Star Wars box. They didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So you never know, and so I was really, really hesitant. I tried it once. It worked out okay, but it was only like $6, and I was like, yeah, I'm willing to throw the dice on this one. But even now, like with the ones that are in plastic free packaging, if I would see them at a show or something like that, I would probably not buy them.
Yeah, it's fair.
What about those? Didn't you get the D&D?
Yeah, I got.
Those were just bad, regardless.
Yeah, those were bad from start to finish.
Right, but there's another situation though where, like, because I only bought the one, which at the time was an Amazon exclusive. It's now making its way to other fan channel areas, but it's a super shitty toy line, and they hit it well because I don't even know if they hit it well because
even the renders look bad.
Yeah, they were even more hideous than what the figure itself looked like. So it's tough to say.
Yeah,
that's fair. Because I have to agree with Nate. Like, especially like at resale shops and in shows, like that would be just kind of too terrifying for me. I wouldn't have trusted the Exchange, to be honest. Like, so while I feel like they're gonna be a little more thorough than Walmart, just because they're more likely to get fired for fucking it up. There's been like. They don't care about condition of stuff. Like they had the first retro Spider-Man for like full eBay price, and the thing was bent and beat to hell, and I'm like, no one's gonna pay that for this thing like in this shape.
Yeah, that's an opener.
So it's just like they have more at risk, but they still don't seem to care. So I wouldn't. I'm impressed you risked it, but yeah, $6, I get it.
Yeah.
I will say on my end, like. In general, it's just terrifying because I don't like ordering that kind of stuff from online retailers in general. Because I've never had any issues where any of them are like, no, go fuck yourself if I have a problem. But I just feel worse if I do have a problem because it's like it's not their fault, but I'm also not gonna be out my now $30.
Right.
And Hasbro seemed to get more QC issues right along the time that they started doing this. Like, so I'd see people with problems on Instagram and stuff. Like with Indy, there were Indiana Jones figures that had half a beard, and I was just terrified. I got lucky and mine didn't, but I also only found one at Target, So it was kind of like I
Right.
didn't have a choice in the matter. But at least at Target, I knew that, like, in theory, they'd return it. Versus, like, maybe Big Bad Toy Store might have been like, listen, sorry, no can do, but I've never had any issues with them either. But usually it's give me a store credit to order another one. So, which I've just been like, well, now I'm terrified it's going to happen again. And will they do it the next time?
But how would like having the plastic window have?
Because if Indy didn't have his beard fully painted, I could see it. And I could be like, oh, I'm not going to buy it because the paint apps are terrible.
Well, no, I mean, like, if you ordered it from Big Bad Toy Store.
Well, this is it, though. Like, I already am, like, hesitant to order that kind of stuff from Big Bad Toy Store because of that. Because Hasbro has always had QC issues, so I avoided it. But now, like, I would rather order from them because at least now I know the figure's going to be in it. But at the same time, I'm still terrified because of that situation with, like, QC issues. Because I've ran into at least 2 Marvel Legends QC issues. Actually, if we count paint apps, like 4. I've had 2 of the figures either have wrong accessories or, like, my Venom that had the peg on the wrist going the wrong direction. And I've had a couple of paint app issues. Both were Spider-Man. I had a cell shaded Spider-Man that had a bunch of, like, messed up paint around his eyes from Walmart. And then I had that PS4 Spidey, which had some, like, white schmutz on his abs, where they got.
You say had? Did you get rid of it already?
Oh, well, I already planned from when I got it. My buddy,
Yeah.
his kid he's got a young son who's, like, super into Spider-Man. So I was like, I'm gonna get this for the channel so I can review it and do the videos. If you want it, I'll sell it to you at a lower price. Because at that point, I've gotten my use out of it, and because he was like his kid wanted it, but he didn't want to shell out $40 for it. So I was like,
I get it.
So I was like, yeah, we'll set something up. So yeah,
I just didn't know. I knew you would get rid of it, but I just didn't know how quickly.
Oh yeah, because I had that thing planned from before it even arrived. Because I was like,
Right.
I already knew I was gonna be upset about it. I was doing it solely for the channel. So that one went to my buddy Cody almost immediately after I finished the review and the pictures and the Let's Pose video. Yeah, so I've run into a few issues, and it just, if at the store at least it would have had the window, I'd feel a little safer. Do I think that this is a major win? Yes and no, because we're still going to have high prices, potentially higher, as Jarmar mentioned before, because they could just have, like, well, with the cost of the packaging, we need to add a couple extra dollars or some bullshit. And not to mention, like, it's not going to help them if the quality doesn't improve.
Yeah.
Because if they have a window and the quality is still the same quality, you're still going to have the things sitting on pegs until they go on clearance anyway. Which I mean, at that point, the only thing that's going to make it so they sell faster is what we've talked about before, and what Big Nerdy talked about on his channel, which is that, you know, the pendulum's swinging the opposite direction. Demand is going to have to shrink, or demand's going to have to go up, and supply's going to have to shrink way down to kind of correct course, because these Marvel Legends waves are lasting less than a month at retail before they're getting clearanced out for half or more off.
Less, yeah. You know, that's a loaded question. You know, did we? You know, we won. We did.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was it was a really bad idea to begin with.
Yeah.
And we mentioned that in the original video. You know, did Hasbro make us stop collecting, which you can watch by clicking right here, or right here, or also right here.
Wait, was that like on your wrist? I was like,
yeah, it's right here.
They have to drive to his house and click his wrist.
He's like, right here.
Click my wrist.
Yeah.
But, you know, the timing was terrible. Things were, again, all bad things at once. You know, price increases. The bigger issue along with that is we got to look at Hasbro's lines across the board. Okay. So let's start out small. Power Rangers. Okay. Lightning Collection. That has already run the course.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much like all the characters they could make, because there's still a ton of characters they could make, but they're out of characters that people want.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're already re-releasing figures in the Lightning Collection again. Like the Lightning Collection is what, 5 years old at this point?
Yeah.
And we're already re-releasing figures. Okay. Marvel is really scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as the characters that they're making. Like, what did they just announced today? Drax the Destroyer and Moondragon, which that version of Drax I'm sure is on somebody's list, but unless you're
many.
Artemis Prime or someone else, like I don't know. You know, Moondragon's a cool looking figure. Don't get me wrong. I have a thing for bald chicks. I don't know what that's about. I loved Star Trek the Motion Picture growing up. Maybe that's where it comes from.
Got Moondragon now.
Yeah. But I don't even know who she is. I mean, she's in a Guardians box, but come on. Anybody who's like, "Oh, I was a Guardians of the Galaxy fan,"
nobody,
shut the fuck
you
up.
didn't know until that first movie came out. None of us gave a fuck about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
At the most, you know, somebody might have read the Abnett and Lanning series that, you know, Annihilation and stuff that set up the modern version of Guardians of the Galaxy, but nobody was a hardcore, you know, fan of the original.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's for newer collectors and people that have gone back and things like that. But that's where we're hitting now. We're really, you know, we've released every Wolverine, every Captain America, every Deadpool, you know, and the figures, unfortunately for them, are still good enough that they're not justified in re-releasing them again. And there's been so many of them.
Pinless would get them.
Yeah, but only to a certain extent.
Oh yeah, it's not going to be like a life-saving like throw, but it's enough that you'll get a lot of people go back for the pinless because people are obsessed with that.
Yeah, okay, and that's fine. I don't care. But if that's what you're into, that's awesome. You know, look at MCU. Okay, I still enjoy all the movies that come out. They're still fun. I can't believe they've made this many. But is the quality and the excitement the same? Absolutely not. It's not.
Yeah,
you can't recapture that. We're what, on movie 30 at this point? Like, it's hard to be still like, oh my God, I can't believe we're seeing this on screen. Like, we're past this point.
Yeah.
So the shows that are coming out, they're not exactly action figure, you know,
toyetic.
You know, I was pumped to get Agent Jimmy Woo, but obviously
not
a lot of people weren't. And even then, like, I did pay full price for him. He's one of the only ones in that wave I paid full price for. But you know, where are we at there with that? You know, and it's the same with Transformers. We're already so far ahead that they're deep diving and sometimes going back to things that they released, you know, at the beginning of the modern era. And the same with Star Wars. I mean, you know, with no new movies, which, you know, for good or bad,
which is going to change,
right? But they already have their hands full with the shows that they can't quite keep up on. But yet again, they're still making really bizarre decisions, like releasing every human character from Andor, which, you know, great. Andor was an amazing show, but it wasn't like, it was a different kind of Star Wars show, so it doesn't lend itself to action figures either.
Yeah.
You know, we have like 15 old guys for Andor, and we're like, great, you know.
Have they announced Andy Serkis's character yet?
No, they have not.
I feel like that'd be like the one character you think that would like get the most, just because there's people who just want it because of who it is. So like to not have that one just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree. Some of the ones that they have chosen, I'm just like, okay. But yeah, so it is a good move on their part, but it's not enough.
Yeah, just from you speaking just for the last little bit, it makes me think, like, is Hasbro in deeper trouble than just high prices and, like, you know, plastic-free packaging? Because that's kind of like not a doomsday. What's it called when? Yeah, like doomsday, like it's the end of the world kind of thing.
Yeah, doomsday
Hasbro.
scenario.
Like,
yeah.
What could they possibly do? Like this new Star Wars movie? That might help, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a big part of the sales. Like we've discussed this before with like NECA and stuff, but like demand for some of this stuff, these lines that we've been so high on in like the past 5, 6 years, 7 years, longer than that. We're like, all right, well, we're burnt out. We want something new. But what else? They're not getting a new line. So like, what can they do? Bring back plastic packaging.
which we talked about this briefly, like very briefly. But Toy Farce put out a meme about the Hasbro Star Wars team re-releasing everything that came out in plastic-free packaging in plastic packaging. I 1,000% could see them doing
for sure.
because the number of figures that came out that you'll get people who were inbox collectors that left that would want, yeah. So that could get them going for at least another year.
Yeah, I mean, is that possible? Yes. Do I think it's likely immediately? No. But I don't rule it out. But I also don't think they would do it at retail. I think I could see it as an exclusive, like either
Hasbro Pulse
kind of thing. GameStop.
Yeah. I could see it being more of a Hasbro Pulse than a GameStop thing, because I don't even know if GameStop would have the balls to be like, yeah, we'll do that, because those sold so well for us the first time.
I mean, who knows with GameStop? They
Target. I mean, they have a better chance of Fan Channel than GameStop, because Fan Channel, those people don't know what they're pre-ordering.
Yeah.
Because when retail, like independent like retailers order stuff, it's all code named. They have zero idea of what the fuck's coming. So they could do it that way, and they would guarantee them to be sent. But I could also see them trickling it out over time. Like they add one or two in each wave.
They could do that too
if it's relevant to kind of like go back and fix it. But yeah, I think that's going to be something that they'll eventually have to do, because like you said, they're running out of things that aren't deep cuts. Because aside from MCU, which is consistently coming out with stuff, I mean, I guess in theory, one thing they could do, because I feel like there's still a lot of MCU characters they've done that are like not necessarily like the main like cast, that they could do comic book versions of that they haven't. Because like, have they made like a Mantis before from comic book version?
I mean, no, but that's like another thing though, like the Moondragon and Drax. It's like, okay, it's another comic book version of a character that people only care about because they were in a movie.
Yeah, which I mean that's still though there might
probably be something there, but we're still
we're not saving Hasbro here, Nate. We're literally just scraping the bottom of the barrel.
We're wading down a line held with comic Mantis, like,
and plus, let's be honest,
it's not a good sign.
With all the costume changes, they could literally just go to Marvel Legends Spider-Man and nothing else, and just do Spider-Man and all his villains in every different version they've ever done.
It's kind of funny that you say that, because, like, where is... Like, I think we're almost at the point where there needs to be, like, a Marvel Legends All-Stars or Marvel Legends Hall of Fame, because Marvel Legends, which should be ubiquitous with, like the legend version, but everybody's a legend. So... it needs to be something, but like, where are those like on retro card backs of like the greatest awesome version, that maybe we've seen before, but what I'm saying? Like,
sort of like how they did Wolverine. What was the saga? The Infinity Saga.
Right.
Yeah.
Like kind of how they did the re-releases. You want something like that, but like the best Wolverine.
I saw someone on Instagram mock up a good idea of doing an archive wave, like Black Series does.
Yeah. Because you've got to do something, one, to get those big characters back out there, and not to feel for newer collectors to not feel like they've missed out. Because we're talking toy lines now, and this is where it kind of starts to blow my mind. And hopefully I stay on track here, because like I'm a little older than you guys, so like I grew up in the '80s, and all this cool stuff happened in the '80s, right? And then it stopped, and then the '90s happened, and then there was a bunch of stuff that was in the '90s, and then it stopped. But now it's all the shit from the 80s and the 90s still. Like, our attention spans are way longer. So, like, Marvel Legends has been in existence for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Yeah. It's been at Hasbro now for, like, 15. Black Series has now been out for over 10 years. And it's like, we take for granted that these lines are still out there, but G.I. Joe, which is a massive line, lasted at original retail for 12 years, and it took a couple years off. Masters of the Universe, huge brand, it lasted for 6 years at retail. We have lines now that are made up of old properties that have been on the shelf for 15 years. So it's a little bit of both. It's like you got to get that stuff out there to entice younger collectors or newer collectors. But then you've also got to keep those old ones interested, and but how do you do that It's crazy.
Bring back
I had an
plastic
idea.
packaging.
So they started this process, but it seems like they've abandoned it. They have the Toy Biz like anniversary line that they did.
Mhm.
They did, I think there are 4 figures in it. That
Yeah.
could be their archive. Like they go
Yeah.
through and it's specified to the figures from that era, but it's a way to re-release the figures they have with maybe
Yeah.
some updates or some slightly different paint apps or something, maybe some new accessories, what have you. And of course you can have that upcharge because it's special. But it'd be a way to get those out while also being like getting the nostalgia hit from people being like, oh my god, I had those back then. I want to have a wall of just the Toy Biz carded like bullshit. Like
Right.
that'd be a great way to like kind of revamp things.
Yeah, there's definitely a market for that sort of thing. Yeah.
Are they 3 3/4?
Well, no, you could do any size. It should be 6-inch because that's what the original Toy Biz ones were.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I was scratching my head, and I got hair that's just like sticking up, and I was trying to get it to go down, and it didn't.
I was wondering what you were doing, Nate, and I was like, did he forget? And then I realized my brain reminded me that you did it.
Yeah. So real quick, our wonderful friend on Patreon, Sukmatant, he was very positive about the victory against Hasbro.
Good.
And by that I mean not at all. He thinks that Hasbro is beyond saving. Okay. He listed 6 points here, so I'm gonna try to get through these real quick. First off, economy's shit, so that's all not gonna help him at all, which is fair, especially with like the price increases and everything, and they aren't gonna lower that and go back to the old ways. Which also goes with his second point, which is that it's too expensive for these figures for both Hasbro and for us. His third point, let's see, a lot of collectors have already been turned off by the plastic free and won't be returning. I think there's more who will return than not. It just comes down to the ones who said, fuck it, I'm done, and got rid of their collections because it would never be quote unquote complete, versus the ones who were just like, I'm fine, and just kind of stuck where they were.
I will agree with that, with what you're saying, but I also agree with him because this is already a niche market as it is, and to lose anybody is hurtful.
Yeah. Especially when like it came out that collectors are roughly a quarter of their revenue stream. Right. So like you can't really afford to lose anyone at that point. Let's see. A lot of collectors don't have space, and also like are being more picky at that point. So like I can see that like hell, I run into that issue all the time. So like, yeah, if you were a completionist, like you were at one point, Nate, like you were doing all of the Marvel Legends lines, not just MCU, and that became a lot.
Oh, it was ridiculous. And I stopped probably 2 years ago now, over 2 years ago. And there's just been so much since. Yeah.
His next one I definitely don't agree with to an extent. He says Disney is a licensed Nazi, claiming like no breasts on girl characters, no hooded Cobra Commander, and Disney charges high licensing fee, which the last part I do agree with. They probably do charge an arm and a leg, but they have Disney has no say in Cobra Commander because that's Hasbro. Disney doesn't own that.
Yeah.
And while yes, Disney does to an extent probably say like, hey, we can't have no titties out, I feel like it's a toy line. If you want a girl with her titties out, go invest in like high end lines or old porno lines or Reddit. Yeah, like these are toys, like not porn. Like,
these are still at Target. Yeah.
Well, like it's mostly referring to the Hell Charger, the Demon Queen lady. She didn't have her deep cleavage, and everyone was like, "Oh, the titties! It's expensive. It's HasLab. It shouldn't matter." But it's still a fucking toy, guys. Like, come on now. Like I get it,
but don't. Titties are titties. Be accurate.
But here's the thing: it's not like it was inaccurate. She had there was a comic panel where she had that costume, so like they just didn't get the version they wanted.
I just wanted to say titties on a toy podcast because we don't get to say it enough.
I feel like we say it a lot.
Okay.
We say a lot of things on a toy podcast we probably shouldn't. Let's be honest here.
This is true.
He also blames terrible leadership. Get out of here if your hate on the Ghost Rider HasLab. I'm not even gonna justify that. Prototypes cost a ton of money. They probably put $500K in the cost of the HasLab. Probably not at all. Not even remotely close to that. Like in the age of 3D printing, there's no way they put $500K into a prototype.
Probably not $500K, but I mean they do have to spend a lot as far as
but not $500,000. If they were spending $500,000 on it, it wouldn't be backed at 9,000 backers. They'd be like, we need 50,000 of you fucks to fund this. But no, in general, the HasLabs, they probably are, especially with a lot of them, not a lot of them, but some of them starting to not make it to the funded process, being a whole ordeal. That's gonna cost them money because they invested in those prototypes and the campaign, and it got nowhere, and all the videos and showing them off at the shows. So
and then just the development process in itself. I mean, that's labor force that's being used there. That's not free. So
at this point, why not just do 3D renders? I mean, that's not like it's free to do that, but instead of actually prototyping,
there are a lot of people who are skeptical about a figure until they see the actual physical prototype of it. So, for instance, Foosh is a big one. He doesn't care until he sees an actual physical version of it. The 3D renders don't do it for him. And there's a lot of people who are in that same boat. So I feel like it would hurt them even more, especially at a HasLab, to do 3D renders than not. I honestly think in the age of 3D printing, if they partnered themselves with someone on YouTube to be to kind of help push it, if they sent one to Shartimus, since he's their boy, and had him actually go and show it off, people probably would have been more behind it than them just kind of trying to be look at it at this toy show, look at these pictures, look at it at the live stream. Someone outside of the company backing it and being hey, this is good shit, I'm excited for this, would build more hype for it. I get that that's risky, but that's why you have to build a relationship with someone you trust, and I feel like Sharmus being their boy is the safe bet.
Yeah, but that's also asking him to... That could be ethically questionable because...
Well, I see what you mean, but I'm going to bring in my video game industry brain, because that's the industry that I actually follow a lot. But that's the same thing, is you have the media, if you will, or influencers who go and see a game early on, and it's not it's weird because if it's only one specific person, then it is kind of you're buying that person. But as long as you're saying you it would be you would choose someone that has a following that would be trusted. I'm assuming Shartimus, you wouldn't think that, oh, he's just gonna lie because they let him.
I mean, there's people who either believe because he is critical sometimes of Hasbro, but for the most part, he's pretty positive about them, and he has a fan base who very much so believes that he's honest. And then there's a lot of people who call him a shill. So no matter what, you're gonna have
maybe. Yeah, but I like that idea, and I don't know if we're trying to save Hasbro at this point. But that would be a cool idea for HasLabs, is to have it actually out there in reviewers' hands.
I don't think it would be a terrible idea though to have 4 or 5.
Yeah, not just have one solo.
Well, I'm just thinking that cost wise, I can't see them making 4 or 5 prototypes. I can see them maybe sending the same one across 4 or 5 people, maybe,
or bringing them in
exactly.
Okay. And then they get they
and
each get so much time with it, and then they can make a video and they can talk, honest about it, and
that would help.
Then they'll send gangsters after him if they don't
they'll
like them.
Yeah, they'll be listen, you talked bad and our thing didn't fund. Fuck you. We're gonna steal your house.
I mean, that's just a risk you take if you're putting something out there that you think that people would actually like. Then they're gonna speak. The money is gonna speak for itself. Just because someone said their shit.
I mostly thought about this because the WCW Nitro stage with Mattel Creations didn't fund.
Yeah.
It failed, and I pointed out they should have sent it to a content creator Kyle Peterson's a real big wrestling thing, or even the assholes over at Major Wrestling Figure Podcast are real good friends with a lot of the Mattel guys. They could send it to them. They could have done a lot of different things to try to improve it and make it so people might have been like, oh yeah, I'm more excited now because this person endorsed it, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
And most of these people are 100% like they'll get stuff early or free or something like that, and they still be honest about it. And it just comes down to like Hasbro's problem is Hasbro is a little sensitive and they get a little butthurt if you talk bad about them. So like they'd have to get over themselves in this situation, which I think would be the hardest part.
So what you're saying is Hasbro needs to just suck it up, send their early prototypes to a channel that absolutely talks the most shit about them.
Mm-hmm.
Wink, wink. And let
But
us
also has
review
some
and
fans.
be honest. You got it.
Keyword is some fans.
But no, that's a fair point.
Yeah. He did have some things that were here at the end. He's glad that they listened to their customer base, but they already are too screwed. Bankrupt customer. What? No. If customers liked it, the corporations, environment. And if Hasbro really wants to stop wasting plastic in landfills, they'll stop making toys completely, since the toys themselves are plastic, and so are the accessories that Jarmar will throw away.
Joke's on you. There was a company that tried to do this, but everyone bitched about it. It was NECA with their Auto T.
Oh my god. Jesus. I was gonna say something now. I don't even know what I was gonna say.
Just blown away.
But yeah, I think this will win some people back. I don't think it's gonna suddenly be a game changer for
Open the
them.
floodgates,
And course correct that they have to do a lot to win people back at this point. Good faith alone, and it's gonna be mostly quality control, because there's a lot of people who've left because of the plastic-free packaging, and there's people who left just because the figures have gotten significantly more ridden with QC issues. But let us know in the comments below. Where do you stand on it? Do you think that Hasbro's still on thin ice? Do you think that this is the Hail Mary that's going to save them from sinking the ship? Let us know what you think. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Helps us out here on the channel. Lets us know we're doing a good job. Also, it's toy-related content in your feed. We've got the weekly reviews, the Let's Pose videos, the live stream, and the podcast with some other stuff sprinkled in between. And if you're a fan of the channel and you want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/Modern Toy Fair. We have several tiers of different rewards. You can get physical prints of the photos I take at the end of the reviews. You can be a guest on our live stream, and you can make suggestions like Suck My Taint did for input on each week's episode. So check that out. Link will be in the description below. You can check us out Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Modern Toy Fair. You can head over to tpublic.com/Modern Toy Fair, where you can get shirts and mugs and notebooks and all sorts of stuff, even stickers with our logos on them and different designs, such as the Cool Become Brave and NECA Illuminati, which I'm currently wearing now. And there's a few others on there, so check that out. You can check Jarmar out over on metal.tv/Jarmar Games. Nate, what do you got for us this week?
Well, I happen to have a whole new podcast that is tying in with this podcast that we're just doing right now. And this actually came as a suggestion from our good patron, Suck My Taint. And this is going to be Did Hasbro Destroy Hasbro? And in this new podcast, we explore whether Hasbro with their Hasbro. And you'll never guess how Hasbro destroyed Hasbro this time. It's a must-listen to series, and if you don't tune in, you may find yourself Hasbro as well. So.
All right, well, don't Hasbro yourself.
No.
Hopefully we see you next week. Same toy time.
Unless you have a license and a spotter.
Same Toy Fair channel. Thank you for watching.
As below.
Oh.